Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here as we approach February. I'd like to introduce you to Afif from Iron Valley Real Estate of the Lehigh Valley. Thanks for being here today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So
today we're going to talk about a couple of little things.
Correct.
Right? You wanted to educate people about a seller's agent and a buyer's agent and the difference.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit.
So to start off, seller's agent is pretty self-explanatory.
Okay.
Represents the seller and the seller only. So all his fiduciary responsibilities are for the seller's side.
Right.
On the other hand, the buyer's agent represents the buyer and the buyer only. And likewise, all his fiduciary responsibilities are towards the financial benefit, beneficial for the buyer only.
Right.
So when you start real estate, you always have buyers and sellers. To begin with, selling a home, for example, you're always going to have that middle ground where the seller wants the most for his home and the buyer wants to pay the least for their home.
That's for sure.
So there's already a conflict there.
Right.
So that's where a seller's agent and a buyer's agent comes into play. And that's where I highly recommend, if you are a buyer, to be working with a buyer's agent.
Right.
And if you are a seller, to be working with your own seller's agent. For example, let's pretend I'm a seller's agent right now. So I go out, I get the listing, I put the sign in the yard, and we do a lot to market the home. So a listing agent and a seller's agent, you're gonna hear me use that term back and forth. A listing agent and a seller's agent are essentially the same thing. So I'm a listing agent, I go out, I get the listing, put the sign in the yard, market it, whether it's on the MLS, different websites, social media, and that is our job. Our job is to get the most amount of money and best terms for our sellers. That's because perfect. We are a seller's agent.
Right. So
say you're a buyer, like you said, and you're driving down the street and you see a sign and it says Iron Valley Real Estate, Afif Salloum is the agent, you call me directly.
Right.
When you call me, my fiduciary responsibility at this moment are towards the seller. So I try to get a lot of information from you. You're interested in the house and relay that information to my seller. Like, listen, I feel like George loves the house, so I'm sure he's gonna pay probably full price. So let's not settle for anything less. It gets into dual agency, let's say, if you were to go through me. Now, I highly recommend buyers finding their own buyer's agent because they're gonna be highly trained and talented to go out and find comparable homes to tell you, listen, are you overpaying for this home or is this a good deal? And also, they're gonna be able to walk you through the agreement of sale, tell you which inspections you should go through. If it's something like new construction, there's certain things with that. And that's pretty much why I recommend a buyer's agent, why I recommend buyers to get a buyer's agent.
And as a buyer, having a buyer's agent, like you mentioned, is something, it's free. So it's not going to cost you anything.
Correct.
It's, everybody gets paid from the actual commission.
So when you get a listing, for example, let's do 6%. And then the seller is asking the listing agent to find a buyer for his home, and he will pay him 6%. Now it is up to the the listing agent to broker out, which is split that 6%, whether it's 3.3, 3.5, 2.5, 50-50, for a buyer's agent to bring in their buyer. Now, a seller's agent is hoping a buyer would call his number so he can, take care of the whole 6% himself.
Right, of course.
So he's hoping for that, but then that gets split between the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. There's something called dual agency as well.
Yes. Which
is a single agent representing both sides. In my 2.5, almost 3 years of doing this, I've done that once. Okay. It's tough because you have to watch out how you say things, how you represent things, and you gotta be fair to both parties, which is, think of it this way. Your attorney is not going to represent you as a defendant and the plaintiff at the same time. It gets a little unethical there.
Right.
And it's the same thing with real estate. So that's why I highly, highly, highly recommend to get your own representation.
Afif, that is probably one of the best advice you could give somebody, and that's priceless. Mm-hmm. I appreciate you being here today with us.
My pleasure.
I appreciate you actually sharing with our public here exactly what the difference is between both a seller's agent, a buyer's agent, how the commission is made, and for those of you who are actually looking for a buyer's agent or a seller's agent.
I do both.
That's right. Yes. That's right. And you're licensed both in Pennsylvania and in New Jersey.
Pennsylvania and New Jersey.
Anywhere else?
For now, that's it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for
My
being
pleasure.
here.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. See you again, and I hope you got a lot out of this.